This topic has always interested me as a kid, probably because I was a big fan of Indiana Jones. These are the 5 lost worlds and civilizations. Enjoy. Now let's begin. We're going to start off with a civilization that most of you have heard about, a civilization that was being talked about a lot leading up to 2012, and that's the Maya civilization. Around 1000 years ago, this mysterious civilization was highly advanced, where it's said that its writing system is the most sophisticated ever developed in the Americas before Columbus arrived. This civilization excelled in mathematics, where they even figured out the concept of zero 1000 years before the Europeans did. They were advanced in astronomy, where they tracked the sun, moon and planet cycles with remarkable accuracy. Their calendar year consisted of 365 days a year, which once again was thousands of years before the Europeans. They also were advanced in architect. They invented a method for fabricated cement 1700 years before the Europeans. They built hundreds of cities where they had temples, palaces and pyramids. Their capital, Tikal, had schools, hospitals, sports arenas and even a library, where the Mayas made thousands of paper books. This was all thousands of years before the Europeans did. This next part is what causes a debate. The Mayas just abandoned their advanced cities, and no one knows truly why. When the Spanish arrived in the 16th century, the Mayas were living in small scattered villages, and their huge advanced cities were now hidden away in their jungles that now became ruins. Out of the thousands of books that the Mayas made, only 4 now exist, and no one that is alive can fully understand them. How can such an advanced civilization just disappear, leaving so much knowledge behind? What made them decline? The Inca Empire stretched from present-day Colombia through Ecuador, Peru, Bolivia to northern Chile and Argentina. Just to show you how large their empire became, by the 15th century the Incas had over 9 million people in its empire. They had constructed over 30,000 kilometers of roads and buildings before the use of animals and even before the use of wheels. The largest and best preserved remnant of the Inca civilization is Machu Picchu, which is also known at times as the lost city of the Incas because of its remote location high in the mountains in Peru. The location was so remote that the Spanish never even knew this city existed. The city was eventually brought to international attention in 1911 by an American historian. The Incas thought to form skulls looked beautiful, so they would wrap bandages tightly around the heads of their children to purposely deform their skulls by limited growth in one direction. Also, skulls that were discovered show that the Incas must have had a vast knowledge in skull surgery, where they opened the skull of their people, and obviously indications show that their surgeries must have been successful. Now, talking so much about skulls, I thought I'd just let you know that the Incas used the skulls of defeated chiefs as a drinking vessel, where they would drink from the skull. The Incas were eventually invaded by the Spanish for their gold. The idea that an entire city could just vanish beneath the water is a terrifying thought, but for this next one, that is just what happened. Once believed to be an Indian myth, the story goes that there was a city called Dwarka, a magnificent city which was made up of 70,000 palaces made of gold, silver and various other precious metals. The city was prosperous, however Dwarka supposedly sank into the sea. Well, in year 2000, marine scientists say that archaeological remains that were discovered 36 meters underwater off the western coast of India could be over 9,000 years old. The vast city, which is 5 miles long and 2 miles wide, is believed to predate the oldest known remains in the subcontinent by more than 5,000 years. This discovery may force historians and archaeologists to radically reconsider their view of ancient human history. The lost city was so advanced for its time, as archaeological find shows that it had huge sandstone walls, streets with cobblestones, a drainage system and a huge gate. All of this, and the city is estimated to be 9,000 years old. Before the time of a democratic Athens or a conquering Alexander the Great, there existed a fledgling Greek society that remains shrouded in mystery. A time so mysterious that it was often regarded by the classical Greeks as a time constructed by myth more so than by man. It was a civilization that appeared from nothing, building city-states and expanding trade across the known world. They conquered neighbouring societies and waged wars that would become legend hundreds of years later. They were the Missis Aeons, a society that once ruled the late Bronze Age of Greece. Then they promptly vanished from history and slowly faded into legend. The Bronze Age of ancient Greece, which lasted from about 3000 to 1200 BC, is the historical backdrop for much of Greek mythology. It was a time period that fascinated the classical Greeks and prompted many stories of Trojan wars and meddling gods, and for the longest time that is what people believed they were, just stories. It wasn't until 1872 that a German businessman turned archaeologist uncovered a Bronze Age walled citadel that would be identified as the ancient city of Troy. We know that the Missis Aeons were capable of conducting warfare on a large scale. The invention of the chariot around 1600 BC allowed for brutal charges against enemy lines. The Missis Aeon civilization would reach a peak in 1300 BC and would most likely have been one of the most dominant empires in the region. It is strange then that only 100 years later, around 1200 BC, the civilization began to disappear. The Missis Aeon palaces, still functioning and filled with treasure, were abandoned. Villages and towns were burnt to the ground, and the once content civilization were scattered across Greece. By the end of the 12th century, the palace system that had constituted the power of the Missis Aeon civilization had just vanished. In central Turkey, wind and water have sculpted strange shapes out of the volcanic rock that ancient people once turned into dwellings. In 1963, a simple home reservation by a local family in the town of Derinkuyu led to an extraordinary discovery when one of their walls caved in, revealing a passageway to an underground city that is estimated to be 5,000 years old. The hidden city was believed to be large enough to home around 20,000 residents, all living together underground. The hidden city is 11 levels deep according to National Geographic and has 600 entrances where many miles of tunnels connect it to other underground cities. When you see pictures of what this city would have looked like, you can't help but see a resemblance to how ant colonies build their complex underground cities connecting tunnels to tunnels that each have their own purpose. The rooms in the underground city of Derinkuyu also had their own purpose. You had areas that were used for sleeping, ventilation shafts, communal rooms, bathrooms, tombs, and you had areas that were used for cooking. It's pretty amazing. You also had an underground water well that was able to provide fresh water. To make this even more fascinating and to show you how advanced their thinking was, they also had their own security system where they had gigantic rolling stones that could seal the city from the inside. Every level you had the same security system where each level could be sealed if chosen. The structures carved into the underground rock and are strong enough after countless of years to safely accommodate guests such as archaeologists and tourists. Although the stone is relatively soft, there have been no evidence of any cave-ins throughout the site, suggesting that whoever built the network had an advanced knowledge of the stone, stonework, architecture, engineering and the local geography. Turkey is full of history, so it's pretty cool to think that cities, empires and religions have risen and fallen above this underground city that they wouldn't have even known existed. The question people ask though is, why did they build a city underground in the first place? There are many theories as to why they built the underground city, such as escaping invading forces. Some have said it could have been protection from the Ice Age, which means the underground city is older than the 5,000 years that has been estimated. Thank you for watching. What lost world or civilization did you find the most interesting and why? Thank you for watching. We also have another video showing the lost worlds. Some of these lost worlds have only been discovered after millions of years,